Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for attending our press conference, media availability today for football. Some exciting news that Coach Dearman would like to share. We'd like to introduce our defensive coordinator. Thank you, media members, for being here. Coach Dearman, if you'd like to start with a statement.
Absolutely. You know, we sat in this room, welcomed Travis Partridge probably about a month ago, and to be able to bring in such a great ball coach of Clint Bowen here. I've known Coach Bowen since 2019. We were on staff together at Kansas, and just respected the way that he went about his business. I think he's a great ball coach, and you look up kind of his journey. He started as he played at KU, was a GA at KU. He's been a special teams coordinator, a tight ends coach, a running back coach, linebacker coach, safeties coach, defensive coordinator, and even an offensive analyst. So he's coached about every position of football. And just from my time of getting to know him, he knows football. And not only does he know football, he knows how to take the players that are there and fit a scheme around him. So when we've talked many times, when I talked to him about this job, one of the things he said to me is, I want to take my first week and learn our players before we even talk about scheme, because scheme's pointless if the guys don't do the scheme very well. So I think they finally today actually got to the scheme where they've previously just been looking at our players and learning what our players can do to put those guys in good situations. He's a guy that's got high standards, doesn't accept excuses from staff and players, which I'm really excited about. Controls the room, walks into the room, and gets the guys' attention. He's been an interim head coach in the Big 12. He's been a defensive coordinator 6 times at the Division I level. I was joking with him earlier, me and Coach Partridge in my office. Clint's 1 or 2 years older than me. That's what I'm going to say. He's a couple years older than Coach Partridge, but in his years of coaching, he's been at 5 schools.
This will be 6.
This would be his 6th school, and Coach Partridge, I think, has already been at 7 schools, and there's a little bit of age gap there between the two, but that speaks highly of him if a school keeps him as long as they do. I think he made it through 6 head coaches at Kansas. Spent 19 years there, 2 years at North Texas. He's been at Oklahoma State, been at Western Kentucky. And a stat that jumped out to me, the last 3 games, he took over as the interim DC this past year at Oklahoma State. The last 3 games that he's the DC at Oklahoma State, they held Kansas State to 14 points, held UCF to 17 points, held Iowa State to 20 points. And this is a team that won 1 game in the Big 12. I think that speaks volumes for how players respond to his coaching and how coaches respond to his coaching. So really excited about that. And I threw some stats together. Not only am I excited about Coach Bowen, but I'm excited about our whole staff. I know, Mike, you probably going to allude to some of this stuff too. Bringing Colby Ellis back as our receivers coach. The guy's been here for 4 years in the past, has been a D2 offensive coordinator, was actually hired as the offensive coordinator at Tyler Junior College when we spoke to him and offered him a job here. Was a player at Oklahoma State. Max Halpin, we hired as our offensive line coach. Max played at Western Kentucky for Bobby Petrino, and Coach Petrino is one of the people that called me and recommended him for this job. Has been the O-line coach at Missouri State the last 5 seasons. has run a Division I room, run a Division I offensive line room. Coached in a bowl game this past year as Missouri State was one of the teams that made it to a bowl. Was a Remington Award finalist as a player, which tells you how good of a player he was as well. Mike Johnson's moving to linebackers where he feels probably more at home, is going to help Coach Bowen on the defensive side of the ball. This current staff, we've got 3 Division I play callers, 2 play callers that have called it in the Big 12. There's 7 total college coordinators on our staff, between guys that's either been special teams coordinators, offense coordinators, or defense coordinators. We've got 4 guys that's been Division I position coaches. We've got 3 college head coaches on our staff with 28 combined years of experience. We've got a UNA Hall of Famer. We've got a Mo West Hall of Famer. I think on the 2013 Mo West team, Dr. Looney will probably be able to speak more of the Mo West news there. We've got an MIAA Coach of the Year. We've got a coach from the Xbox Bowl and a coach that coached this past year at the Gasparilla Bowl with Memphis. So I think it's probably one of the best staffs I've been on, and for sure one of the better accoladed staff in UNA history. So with that, I don't know where you want to go from here, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. In those releases you have, you'll be able to see the breakdown of every coach and position, titles, all those things. Coach Bowen, if you'd like to go ahead and make a statement, then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, I would just want to start, thank Coach Dearman first off for the opportunity to come here and be a part of this program, the UNA program, and his program that he's worked here to build the last few years and getting there. And from, just the time I've been here, I've told him multiple times that the players on this team are very impressive in terms of they understand what it means to be a great teammate. They work extremely hard. We push our kids really hard here, and they've proven that the last 2 weeks. So, just ready to get to work, get started on, creating a defense that represents this university and gets fans of UNA football excited and becoming a part of the Florence community.
All right, very good. We'll open up for questions. Go ahead, Manuela.
Yes, Coach Dearman, so 2026, 2 new coordinators. What are the grounds you want to build this partnership in?
I think we've got to go into Bank Independent Stadium and put a product on the field that's a championship product. Our goals are to win the UAC. Our goals are to make the FCS playoffs and win a national championship. So I think this team understands that you got to show up every day and work in the winter to have success in the fall. But with a great coaching staff we've got, I think every goal we've got is within reach. We just got to put the work in.
Coach Dearman, how is it this season going into new stadium, having this new staff, this kind of, not new identity, but these changes in this program for this season?
I think you walk out of this room and you can see change in a physical stadium. That change showed up in this recruiting class with the 30 new players that we've added to this football team this offseason. We've got a higher caliber of player that we've been able to bring in because when you walk through that tunnel, you got the boom box playing in the tunnel, the smoke machines are going off, and you actually get to walk into a physical stadium. It's different than just showing pictures like we've been doing. So I think the leadership here with Dr. Looney and President Kitts and their vision of having this on-campus stadium has been a huge game changer for our program.
The way college football is going now, D-line has become a lot more versatile of a position to play. The things that you're have come along the last few years in terms of simulated pressures, the different movement stunts, the way guys are fitting the run. Defensive line guys are really kind of the freaks of the team. You're talking guys who are in the bigger range, but are asked to do a lot of things that traditionally we didn't ask them to do. Whether they're dropping in coverage, the way we run our fits, the way we fit things. It still is always going to come down to those are the guys who are the big strong anchor points on the line. But defensive line wise, and we're fortunate here. We have a few kids who have a lot of versatility in terms of the athletic ability and their size. To be able to move those pieces around and create different fronts, different coverages, different things with them. So defensive line's a kind of an evolving concept here in the last few years.
David?
Brent, I was kind of curious what the timeline or the process was like from what led to Caraboa's departure to you hiring Clint, and then Clint had to kind of let it to what made you choose UNA. I'm sure that you had other job offers as well.
I'll start off with that. So, crazy kind of deal with this is we were bringing in Banks Bowen, who is Clint's son, on a recruiting trip, play quarterback here. And me and Clint were hanging out at Lost Pizza. Shout out to Lost Pizza. I think we're working on some jersey, so I'll throw that out there. But we're sitting at dinner and we're reliving some old KU moments, telling some good Lawrence and some Les Miles stories and all kind of things. And I think it may have been 2 or 3 days later that Coach Caraboa, him and his wife made a decision that they wanted to go a different path after me and him sitting down. And I think the 5 minutes later, I call Clint Bowen and say, hey, you've already visited this place. What do you think? And within 24 hours, I think we had come to a final conclusion. I didn't speak to anybody else about it. And I think we had a mutual agreement that we'd love to do this thing together. So me and Coach Bowen are a lot alike. We value people. We value great relationships. We value coming in the office and enjoy being and working with good people. And you can ask him more about that. But for me, it was a no-brainer. It was a home run hire for us, and I think it was a bonus that we're also got a good quarterback out of the deal too. So excited to have them both here.
Yeah, my part, as you get older in this business, I hate to sound like that guy, but I guess that is the shoe that I'm wearing now, is getting kind of, a veteran in this business, 26 years, and you work for multiple people. I think I've worked for, 10 different head coaches, different programs. You just start to realize that some situations are for you and some situations aren't. As you look at jobs, there used to be a time in your career when you just kind of begged to get any job you could. It's a tough business when it comes to the job world. And then there comes a point in time when you start to look for a fit in a place that, one, the head coach, who obviously is going to set the culture and the standards and all the things that go with the head program, that you have the like mindset to how that's supposed to look and how that's supposed to play out. And you can get yourself in some uncomfortable situations when those two things don't mesh. And so that's something that, I've known Coach Dearman, and I know that we think alike. We expect our players to act a certain way, play a certain way, represent this university a certain way, and those things are important. And then you got to look at the big picture of, coaches take a lot of blame a lot of times that they end up with a failed season or something, and it's 100% on them. But there's so many dynamics that go into, can you be successful in a program? And when you evaluate those things, you got to look at that when you take jobs. And this is one of the places where you could see the support. When I brought my son here, you could see the support from the people in Florence. We were out in the community. We felt the support. You can see it from the administration with the new stadium going up. You just ask questions about people who have been here, and it just ended up that there's a lot of things that really pointed to UNA football heading in a very upward direction. I wanted to be a part of it.
Was your son being here, was that an extra bonus?
We had actually, I think, kind of came, we ended up at Oklahoma State together by almost just a strange coincidence as well there. Some of our quarterbacks at Oklahoma State entered the portal, and he had a nice spring at Tulsa, and so he kind of earned his way there. I ended up going there first, and I would say he ended up coming here first. He had kind of made his mind up that he was going to come here prior to Coach calling me with the situation. So in a way, I followed him on this one. And of course, it's a bonus. I'd be lying and be crazy to say that being able to walk into a weight room and see your own son there, or being able to walk to a workout and seeing your son and those kind of things, it's a lot of fathers would never get this opportunity. So I don't want to. It's something that I don't take for granted. I did spend a lot of my years ignoring my kids in this business, which is part of the game. But so to be able to spend time with him here is a special experience that does mean a lot. But I actually just kind of happened coincidentally,
Coach, you talked about these 2 weeks that you've been here, kind of assessing the talent that you have. What have you seen from the guys, and what's the expectation for the defense this year?
You know, the thing that caught my attention early is we have very respectful kids. And I know that sounds a little bit like maybe you don't understand, but you step into some programs and there's a different feel amongst the way the kids talk to each other, the way the kids interact with the coaches. There's things that go on out there that we would all like to say that you're going to step into this utopia and it's all sunshine and rainbows, but you go to some programs and there's a bit of hostility amongst the groups in a lot of different avenues. And the first thing I noticed right away was players helping each other, players communicating with each other, players patting each other on the back and reinforcing things in the weight room, and when we were running, which is a big deal. And that's a tribute to Coach Dearman and the culture that he's developed here, that he's emphasized the importance of team and the importance of being together. And, I always use a phrase, mudita, which basically just means I'm more happy for my teammate than I am myself when he has success. And this team, right away, I've noticed they've done that. They work extremely hard. Our kids fight through workouts. When things get tough, they support each other and don't quit. We have good players on this team. We have kids who can play. So all the players have made a big impression on me in the first 2 weeks.
Ben, I think you have some.
Yeah, I got a couple for Max Cohen. Coach Dearman, I guess we can start with you first. He said, stringing leads was a problem last year, right? A couple of games. How do you plan to, how do you kind of flip that story this year?
You know what? Me and Clint actually talked about it today. We had 3 overtime losses, and I think in all 3 of those games we had a lead, and that's been a deal that has been kind of a monkey we got to get off our back since I've been here. I think 2 years ago we had a halftime lead in 7 or 8 of our ball games 2 years ago. So stress and finish right now in the weight room, stress and finish in our off-season mat drills right now. When me and Coach leave today, we're actually headed out to our Cox Creek facilities. We got some station work today where the emphasis is finishing. Huge off-season emphasis on finishing, but being detailed in what finishing looks like. I think we've got to set a great black and white and eliminate any gray, eliminate those situations where players kind of question those things. I think us as play callers, we got to understand when games get tight, there are certain players you got to get the ball to. There are certain players that we got to ask to blitz, where scheme doesn't matter as much as players matter. So I think there's a little bit of we got to demand expectations of our players, but I think as coaches too, we got to put the right players in those situations to finish out games, because some guys are just more clutch in those kind of moments, and we got to find out this offseason who those guys are.
Then scoring defense for either one of you. I mean, a lot of points in college football now, right? How do you get a defense ready for that?
I'll pass that one on to Clint.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The game is tilted. Offensive coaches have, things have gotten more creative. Obviously, there's a lot of different concepts and schemes that are popping up. But, when at the end of a year, when you always go back and you kind of look at your self-scout and you kind of study yourself a little bit, through my years, the one thing that always comes up is most of your problems ended up because of player confusion. Like football, it's hard to move the ball if you do everything right. And so as a defensive coach, early in your career, it's really cool to have 8,000 things that you can call and all these cool blitzes and all this stuff, and then you go on the field and it doesn't work. And you can kind of go with that philosophy that I would rather make the worst call and my players execute it perfectly than make the best call and my players bust it. And when you get to the game of football, a lot of times making the other team truly earn everything they get, as opposed to making a mistake that was a controllable mistake and allowing something, is probably the best part to start with it. And with that, the next part of it is kids have to understand a way to play that minimizes some of that stuff in terms of situational football, which has become so big with the analytics that guys use. I mean, it's a 3rd and 10 on the 50 is not the same as a 3rd and 10 on the 20, which it used to be. I mean, it just means they're going to try and get 5 because he's going to go for it on 4. So there's a lot of the player thinking part of it has become so important the last few years. Getting guys to focus on that, to eliminate big plays and anticipate what's going to happen and know what's going to happen to control some of the scoring. So I think the smarter teams and the teams that don't kill themselves are the guys who are doing it the best.
2 more for Max. Coach Bowen, your previous FBS experience at Kansas as well. How can you carry that over here to UNA? Or what can you take away too?
just experience in general. I think you just end up over the years developing a system that you believe in, whether that's schematically or the way you teach how to tackle, the way you teach how to press coverage, the way you teach how to play a 3 technique. You just get more honed in on the way that you do things with it, So, the difference between those schools and this school, people would be surprised at how small it is. This is we have high-level players. We have a lot of guys who could go play at those levels, coaches who can coach at those levels. We'll come across some creative minds in this league that are coaching football. Those FBS coaches, I've been with a lot of really good ones and a lot of really bad ones at that level. And that's kind of just, I think, probably about any industry. As you probably look around, there's some guys you wonder how he got that job, and then some guys you wonder how he didn't get the job. Well, this is a high level of football that we'll do what we can to adapt and adjust to who we see each week.
And then last question for Max. What made you want to kind of get the band back together with Coach Dearman again?
Well, I talked about that one over here a second ago with that part of it. It's just it becomes when you do get into this business a while and become more experienced, the who you're working for, the support of the people around you, becomes really important because we work really hard in this business. This isn't a profession that you can punch the clock and just go in and out on. And so when you're putting in those hours and you're doing those things, you want to be a part of a program where is being supported, people care about it, and you're working with people that you want to see on a day-to-day basis. And so all those things, the fit and UNA's from the community to the school to all that fits all that criteria in my mind.
And I wanted to ask you, what is important to you defensively? I know, there's always the coach speak of, working hard and flying around and, hitting somebody, but, what is important to you from that perspective?
It sounds like the most generic answer, but tackling becomes the key to about every football game defensively. Like when you play really good defense, you probably look at the film and you realize we only missed about 8% of our tackles that game. You played really bad, you look at it and that number's probably going to be around 19% of your missed tackles. And I know tackling seems like, oh yeah, you play football, you should tackle. But it's amazing how many different coaches believe you tackle like this, believe you tackle like that, the fundamentals. There's all these different things that go into it. But it comes down to, in my opinion, and tackling represents fundamentals to me. And the things that bother me as a coordinator when I watch a game on Sunday, if our kids stand up too high and don't get in a great stance, they don't take a great first step, they don't have their eyes focused on a key. It's all those little tiny things that get lost in a game that add up. When people talk about the inches, it's not really the inches. It's the multitude of, did you take a false step? Did you take a bad angle? Did you have your eyes in the wrong place? The tiny little things are what, it sounds kind of, nerdy or whatever, but the tiny little things about this is what gets me excited. When I put on a play, I want to see 11 of my guys in a perfect stance, taking a perfect first step with a perfect read, and then running to the ball and then celebrating at the end of a play together as teammates. The schematic parts of it, I've had a great defense in a 4-man front, a Dick LeBeau 3-4, a John Haycock Iowa State 3-3. I've had great defenses in those, and I've also had really bad days in all those schemes. The schemes only work when you get your kids to buy into being great teammates to each other, doing it together, and appreciating the little things along the way that make you a great football player, which in my opinion is fundamentals and effort.
I'll say this, and coaches, 2 weeks of being here, we're going to go out today and do mat drills, which every team in the country is going to do this time of year. And mat drills are designed to help your players move faster, and it also is a toughness factor. Can the team come together in adverse situations? Well, we've always just done normal drills and mat drills. Well, Coach Bowen brought to our team, hey, this is something, there's an idea I've had. Can we incorporate with defensive players different elements of tackling at the end of this bag drill, at the end of this cone drill? Where today, Coach Bowen is going to get so excited in mat drills to teach 2 guys how to vice tackle. When a guy's in between us, we're going to all shimmy with our inside leg up. We're going to put our hat placement below the football so our hat can create turnovers. And I'll say this, in 2 weeks, he's been more fired up to teach that than anything else I've been around him doing. We're going to work an angle tackle where they're in a trail mode in a pursuit. We're going to work a banana tackle where they're wrapping around. And he brought all those things to us where we are teaching tackling within things that we're allowed to do in January, which we have never done stuff like that before. So he's already making us better in his 2 weeks being here.
I do want to ask you, who has running back?
We're going to split it between either me or between a GA, which with a lot of schools, a graduate assistant usually coaches running backs at most places.
I just wanted to double check.
Absolutely.
And then I do want to ask you, Clint, has your son ever gotten the better of your defense?
He did. We were at we'd have a live period at Oklahoma State early on, and it's a nice play on him. I still remember the call. We were in a cover 2 scheme, and he kind of threw about a 40-yard dime right on a corner route. Hit a little kid Gavin Freeman. He punched the ball in the stadium, and then Banks, as he's running by, celebrating, gave me a little pat on the butt as he was going by, and I remember the moment, that he did. That was kind of a live drill in practice. He made a play, and as he ran by, kind of gave me the pat on the butt to let me know that he just scored on our defense. And then I think he may or may not told his mom as soon as he got home that day, because I had to hear it twice. So yeah, he has on that time.
We got time for one more, and then we'll want to give everybody time for Q&As, one-on-ones as well. So if anybody has a question. All right. Y'all have a closing statement or anything?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, media members, and thank you, coaches. And Roar Lions.
Roar Lions.